So, today's topic is question and answer with Sunil Damania. But I'm going to, if you remember, last week I asked you people to write to me what you would like to cover me in Equity Outlook 2024. And you people have written. I'm thankful to every one of you who wrote to us. And everyone has a very different kind of some people had a very similar kind of question being put. Some has come up with a very interesting question which has nothing to do with the equity outlook. And I thought, let me pick up those questions in QnA with Sunil Damania, so that, because it doesn't gel well with the equity outlook webinar. So I don't want to bore there with the people who will come with because that webinar that we are going to do next week would be minimum 2 hours webinar. It will be a very long marathon webinar. Why? Because first thing we are going to discuss what we predicted in 2020, what happened there. And then we are going to discuss about what do we expect. And some of you people have given very interesting insights that I'm planning to cover. So that my presentation itself will go near about 1 hour or so. And I wanted to keep near about 1 hour only for the Q&A for that webinar. So that's the reason. And hence I thought some of the questions that you've asked, which has nothing to do with the equity outlook, then that if I add that, the webinar will become a little more longer, which people may lose out of patience on that. So I'm going to do that. What I'm going to do is that the question that have been asked, which I believe not relevant to the equity outlook, I'm going to cover in this webinar. But before I begin this webinar, just a small disclaimer, as you can see on the side, on the screen, this webinar is only for an education purpose. Please consult your financial advisor before buying, selling any stock. Please remember, when you invest in the equity market, it's subject to market risk, and past performance is no indicator of future returns. With this, I have picked up a very interesting question that has come. So let me first start. And there are thought-provoking questions. I must tell you that. I have not put the name just for the sake of, I have not taken the consent from there to disclose the identity. So it's unfair on my part without taking their consent to who has asked this question, or maybe more than one. Now someone asked a question, how to choose a company from the sector. आपने बता दिया कौन सा सेक्टर अच्छे चलने वाला है. How do we know which company we should basically pick up? And it's a very interesting question कि आपका सेक्टर का व्यू सही है, लेकिन कौन सी कंपनी that you should be going in for? And I thought, it's a very valid question, and this question has nothing to do with the 2022, 2023, 2024, 2020. It's an evergreen question. आप कभी भी कहीं भी सवाल पूछ सकते हो, and still that question would be relevant. Why? Because ultimately, and I've said and I've demonstrated many times through a live example, within the same sector, some company will give you 50% positive, and within the same sector, someone will give minus 50% return, which is possible, am I right? And that something can happen. So how to choose a company? Most of you are MarketsMojo subscriber. Once you identify which is the company which is the sector that I want to be in, look at the score of the company, which is available on that particular sector only, and see which is the highest score. That is the best way to select the company from that. If you want to pick up something like momentum or so, then Mohit has explained you how to pick up momentum, how to pick up turnaround, and how to pick up reliable. Same logic you should apply on that sector, and see, just to give an example, if some companies are coming out with the good quarterly numbers, couple of quarters in a row, I think that's the company that you should be looking at it. So I think you should also look at it because, see, like just to give an example, IT sector. If you look at it within IT sector, the large cap have not done as much good as mid cap IT has done. So that's where also you need to understand कि वो तेजी कहाँ पे है, and if that is so, then you can further drill down sector, उसके नीचे कौन सा market cap, and then try to pick and choose the company. Something similar happened with private sector banks. Like the whole private sector bank did not go anywhere. The likes of ICICI Bank, likes of HDFC Bank, likes of Kotak Mahindra Bank. But if you look at some of the Ujjivan and likes of that, Equita, small finance, so on and so forth, they did extremely well in 2023. So somewhere, not only the sector that you need to look at it, also look at where there is a rally or where there is a momentum, and you can try to chase those companies provided the numbers are good. Okay, when I say momentum with the good quality numbers, okay, if both are combined, then you can select the company. That's what my advice would be. Second question asked, how long one should hold the company? Now, there is no straight answer to this. I must tell you that. Warren Buffett also, if you ask him and if you look at his portfolio, there are some companies he might have get out of 6 months also and 1 year also. And some companies like Coca-Cola and American Express have been holding for very, very long period of time also. So, there is no fixed answer to that. My advice would be, of course, you can use the score of the company which is available on website, whether you should exit from that company or not. If it goes below 50, that means a sale, and you can get out of that. Another way which I normally apply is that the reason why you bought that company. The reason why you bought that company, and that reason is no longer valid, or that efficacy of that reason is declining, I would get out of that company. Very simple. And I'll give you another classical example, like Lux Industries, which was our stock of the month, and moment there was a corporate governance issue, we exited from that company despite the score, whatever may be. Why? Because in that time management also denied any kind of the investigation done by the SEBI. We said we don't believe this well, and we exited. So you should have a very strong reasoning why you bought the company, and if that reasoning is no longer hold true, please get out of that company. Am I right? So that's the way you can look at it. I hope I'm able to answer but in case if you're still not happy, please put this question again in the chat box, and I'll be more than happy to answer that. So how long one should hold the company? Like for example, in our Infinity and now PMS, Virgin Beverages we've been holding, and this stock we have been holding since we started Infinity Service. We have still not exited. ITC is another company which we continue to hold in our PMS, and so on and so forth. So why? Because the reason to exit from those companies is not yet triggered. At the same time, some of the companies we exited also in the PMS because the reason to exit become very, very obvious to us. So that's how you should. So there is no fixed answer. In fact, it also depends upon sometimes the market conditions also. I must tell you that. I'll give a classical example. So, I always give an example so you can relate to it very well. In 2013 or 2014-15, I'm just forgetting the year, the pharma as a sector started declining. Fancy started declining with the investors. Now what used to happen, the PE that you used to command for that sector started declining very significantly. Am I right? There was no growth in the earnings, but the PE start collapsing. Now that's also a reason one should also, because see, remember, whether we like it or not, market also loves certain sectors and market also hates certain sectors. Now if you happen to be in the great sector but not loved by the company market, you will get frustrated as retail investors. उतना मैच्योरिटी आप पे नहीं आएगा कि आप उसको होल्ड करो. इनफैक्ट वॉरेन बुफेट, someone has asked Warren Buffett कि you are imparting your knowledge to everyone. You have not kept any secret with you. You said how you should select the company, what you should buy, what you should look at the company, so on and so forth. Then why people are not able to make the same money that you have been able to make money? Because Warren Buffett ka to khula kitab, am I right? He always discusses strategy, this and that, and everyone knows. In fact, because of the filing, he has to disclose the holding also of what Warren Buffett has bought in the Berkshire Hathaway. And yet people are not able to make money, the same kind of money same kind of money that has been made by him. And his answer was very simple: patience. So given all the things similar, if you lack one element, that is patience, then you are basically out. So sometimes you should not get frustrated कि वो stock नहीं चला है, let me exit. That should not be a reason, because if once you do that, then if you listen to some of the best experts in India and globally. And there's one theme which comes out very clearly across all them. The reason why they could create the wealth while others could not create the wealth, because of lack of patience. मैं आपको कोई कंपनी दे भी दूंगा ना, I can bet with you, you may not make the same amount of money as someone else would have made. Why? Because the guy who is using more patience will make more money and as compared to this. I'll give a classical example. This happened with a friend of mine. There was one company which, on a Nariman point, I was walking with him and he basically asked, and we discussed, kya lagta hai? I said, this company looks extremely good. This I'm talking about before I joined MarketsMojo. And then I forgot about it, to be honest with you. मेरे दिमाग से भी निकल गया था. And then he happened to meet me. So we keep meeting very often. It's not that I don't meet him. Just, but he suddenly say, यार सुनील भाई वो जो कंपनी था ना यार बहुत अच्छा चला, मैंने पैसा बना दिया, अभी कोई नया कंपनी दो ना यार, पैसा है पड़ा है मेरे पास. एंड आई वाज सरप्राइज. बोला तुम निकल गया? कभी निकल गया? बोलते सब बिफोर कोविड निकल गया. तो बोला क्यों निकल गया? उन्हें बोला सब पैसा बन रहा था तो निकल गया सुनील भाई. मैंने बोला था तो निकली गयो. गुजराती में ही साइड एक्चुअली. एंड आई कंटिन्यू टू होल्ड. मतलब तुमको पता चला कि तूने क्या नुकसान कर दिया? हाँ पता चला, भी क्या करे, So that's the kind of stuff. So sometimes you may be given the right company, but you'll still not make money because of lack of patience. I'll give another classic example which has happened with one of our Infinity customers. In Feb 2023, we were holding one company from tech and one hold company from the private sector bank. He was that convinced that these two companies will not make money. He lost patience. He did not pay us that 1% fees that we were charging in Infinity. And the same company, post-March, gone up by more than 100%. Now, you could have made money, but he lost money. You could have made substantial money, but you lost substantial money. So how long one should hold the company is a very tricky thing. It's not very easy, I must tell you that. Best of the best fund managers across the world have basically failed on that. Sometimes you get out of a company too early or you get out of a company too late also. Both happens actually. In fact, I'm going to present very interesting chart in my Equity Outlook 2024 about that getting early or getting late. It's a very interesting chart. I'll say that we'll not disclose much because that will take away the excitement. So how long? There is no fixed answer. As long as the story is there, please continue to hold. The moment you feel that story is over, it's time to move out of that company. Then don't fall in love with that company. Because the moment you fall in love with the company, that's the biggest danger. Then you are basically taking decisions based on emotions. Love emotions से होता है, am I right? Okay. तो वहाँ पे फिर emotions नहीं रखना है अपने को. वो love story वहाँ पे खत्म करके move on to the another company. Another interesting question which has nothing to do with the equity outlook, but that question came to us. How much quantity one should buy? Now, we always say, please don't take more than 10% exposure into one company. Provided you don't have overall sectoral exposure more than 30%. Now, the question would come, should I buy it one go or should I stagger it? It's also a function of market cycle. If you think that market is a little overrated, I'll buy. But then I'll start buying in a installment. The same company, because I love that company. Probability is very high that I may be able to get the company at a lower level. Like if you remember when we launched Infinity in October 2021, we stated that we are not going to deploy the funds at one go. And we said we'll invest one third, which continued for almost 8 to 9 months, where we did not deploy to one go. So even if you committed more, we did not generate the advice on that. So it depends. But had you come in the month of March 2020 and said, we would have said 100% invest kar lo. Or in Feb 2023, we would have said 100% invest kar lo. So how much one should buy is also a function of, so once you like the company, then look at the mood of the market. And depending on that, you should stagger your investment or should you go at one go. But having said that, at no point of time you should take more than 10% exposure of your total portfolio in one company and not more than 30% into one particular sector. Same way, if you're a little conservative investor, then you should not take too much exposure to mid and small cap. So I would also suggest you that you put company-specific exposure limit, you put sector-based exposure limit, and number 3, based on your risk appetite, put the market cap limit also, because that will really help you to balance your risk versus returns. Now this question really made me laugh, someone is asking that before election, general election, India will take over Pakistan occupied Kashmir. If वो होगा तो क्या impact होगा market में? I thought that's not worth taking a discussion there in equity outlook, because we'll focus on more other issues there. See, we don't know. These are all hypothetical questions. Whether India takes over Pakistan occupied Kashmir or not, I don't think that's going to really change the direction of the market. It can boost the sentiment for 1 or 2 days, but beyond that, it could benefit BJP in the general election. That could happen. But is there a direct correlation with the market? I doubt that is going to happen. The first thing, this question is a little hypothetical. I'm very not sure whether this will happen before election. That's also, I must tell you that. Even if I have to put a probability, I would put a probability maybe 5% or so. And I could go 100% wrong also on that probability. Am I right? But I don't see that happening before election. But in politics, you never know, what can happen. So this possibility, in case if that happens, of course, it will strengthen BJP as a party. It will improve the prospects of BJP coming back to the power. And if market sense that, it will start rallying in the hope that BJP is going to form the government. So that's what can happen. That's the thing. Now someone forwarded me a link. Okay, and I was surprised with that link, So what that link says, one of the economists, and if you remember, I said learning, never trust the economist. Okay, now this gentleman, I don't want to name the gentleman, he says that US market will crash by more than 80%. So to be very precise, S&P 500 86% as per that economist, Nasdaq 92%, and cryptocurrency 96%. Declined by so much percent, not declined to, declined by. Now it's a very scary scenario if that has to happen. Something has to really critically go wrong. And of course, that person who asked me the question also said, okay, Sunilji, you don't respond to other people's opinion. But the reason I'm basically saying that because this kind of a fear mongering is not something good for the investors. See, remember in stock market, who made the money most? The guy who is optimistic and the guy who take calculated risk. आप optimistic हो, लेकिन risk नहीं लोगे market में, कभी पैसा नहीं बनेगा. बड़ा पैसा किसका बना है market में? The guy who is optimistic and who can afford to take risk. जिगरा बोलते हैं हम लोग गुजराती में उसको. आपके पास जिगरा होना चाहिए उसका. छाती बोलते हैं, छाती होनी चाहिए आपको. वो they are two critical things. Remember that. If you otherwise आपको दुनिया की सबसे बेस्ट सलाह एडवाइजर भी मिल जाएगा ना, आपका पैसा कभी नहीं बनेगा. Because whether you don't have a risk appetite or you don't what we call have the optimistic view. So then you will always think ये तो ये हो जाएगा तो उसका ये हो जाएगा. You always think on negative things. इसमें कभी पैसा नहीं बनेगा, बड़ा पैसा नहीं बनेगा, छोटा पैसा बनेगा, बड़ा पैसा नहीं बनेगा. So that's why I thought let me pick up this question. So what is the probability of US market crashing by 80%? अगर US market 80% होता ना, इंडिया की मार्केट की बैंड बन जाएगी. अगर 80% नहीं होगा ना, 50% डेफिनेटली हो जाएगा. Because why? जो FI का पैसा है, जो fear जो होगा, वो something has to really drastically go wrong now with US. With 80%, that's the largest economy in the world. Band बन जाएगी सबकी. Okay? What is the probability of that happening? 0.00001%. with full respect to the person who made the statement, I agree to disagree with his assessment. Okay, so please, I know who the wrote to me email. I don't want to name this person, but the probability of that happening is 0.00001, whatever zero you want to put, 1%. The reason I'm saying so much decimal and 1, well, nothing can be 100% sure in the world. That's why I'm saying so. Now, someone asked me a very interesting question. So many of you did ask me real estate in India, but someone asked me what is real estate outlook on UAE and Dubai. We do have substantial portion of our customers from who are NRI, and many of them from within the NRI group are from Dubai and the UAE. And this question came, I thought since I will not be covering that in Equity Outlook 2024, not many would be interested. I thought let me address this in this forum. So I'm not an expert on the Dubai real estate market, and hence I did some Google search and I realized that S&P came out with a report saying that in next 12 to 14 months, Dubai real estate market can go down by 15 to 20%. ऐसा कुछ number था. I'll be somewhere here and there wrong, a few percentage points, but this is what the mota. In other words, so when Russia and Ukraine war happened, a lot of money came into Dubai real estate market. Now that seems to be drying up. That's what the sense that's happening. The price have really gone up. So I think they may cool off to some extent. So the best case scenario, and of course I'm not an expert, I must admit that, whatever I'm saying based on my little understanding about what I read after this question came to us, and based on that, the upside is maximum 5%, downside could be 10% to 15% in next 12 to 14 months. But please take my comment with the lots of, not pinch of salt, but tons of salt, because I'm not an expert on the Dubai real estate market. With this, let's open the floor for question answer. Dear Sunil ji, pharma stocks are buzzing in last 2 weeks. Is that due to new COVID variant, or you see any other parameter change which is driving this momentum? Thanks. So Ashish ji, if you remember, once I think last month, Joyson, which makes a very rare appearance in the webinar, and I was there, and we did that webinar at 12 p.m. or something. And if you remember, one of the sector that we were bullish on pharma, and that time there was no COVID variant on the horizon that we are talking about now. See, I think, and yesterday I was discussing with Mohit and some of our leadership team, and this applies to you and everyone. Have you ever noticed that amount of money now we are spending on pharmaceutical, that medicines, would be at least 15 to 20% higher than what you spent year before. For example, अगर 2022 में आपने 100 रुपया खर्चा किया था मेडिसिन के ऊपर, there is a high probability you have to spend 115 to 120 rupees 2023 में, just to make it 100. I'm not saying 100 is a base. That's the way things happen. So I think we all have started spending more and more money on the medicines, maybe because of global warming, because of pollutions in the air. Other day, when did I go? I went for Oberoi for dinner. That is on Christmas Day. And the moment you enter the lift in Oberoi, there was there was the display. Air quality in our rooms are 8 or 10, something of that number. And they've compared what is in Tokyo, what is in New York, what is in Seoul, and so on and so forth. The point I want to convey is that I've never seen that kind of it, because keep visiting Oberoi very often. I've never seen that. But now they're basically hyping on the guest also. Because when you come and check into our room, our rooms are not polluted. I think the pollution is one of the biggest problem, whether we like it or not. And I think that due to that, the pollutions, because of global warming, new variant will come of the virus and so on and so forth. I think the demand for the medicines are going to go up. And if that's one reason, I believe that there could be more structural growth story in the pharma because of this. In fact, if you look at one medicine which has come, and I don't know how many people are aware, which basically help you to fight against obese. and that medicine is doing wonderful things for the patients, and then the sales have gone up so much high that the Europe largest most valuable company is pharmaceutical company now, not any fashion oriented company. So that's it. So that shows that where the trend is. Second thing, I think a lot of generics are going out of the patent in the US that would further drive the demand. And of course, you could be right, Ashish ji, that if sometimes market get excited that new COVID variant aaya to le lo, but I don't think that's more sustainable story. But I think the sustainable story is more about global warming, more about pollutions, more about new variants of virus coming one way, another way, and that's good. And second thing, the people have become more health now. Previously क्या होता था, सर्दी जुकाम हुआ तो people will take it little lightly. बोला ठीक है कुछ नहीं होता है, चला जाएगा 2-3 दिन में. Now we don't take it little lightly, है ना. हम लोग दवाई डॉक्टर से आते हैं, खुद कुछ दवाई लेके आते हैं, and we start consuming that. So that होता है चलता attitude has really gone away as far as the medicines are concerned. So that's one reason I think it started doing well. Sachi Singh, I have some spare cash to invest. I have a portfolio, wish to reinvest. Yes, of course you can do that, Sachi ji. There is nothing wrong. Never try to time the market because no one has been able to do it. I'm afraid you will not be able to do it. So if you have a portfolio, please spare money. You can invest in the same portfolio, and you can start. I hope that was your question was. Prasad sir is saying exit lot of peers at the end of the first and second year is quite high. So Prasad sir, the reason why we wanted to put exit lot is not to make money. Idea is to deter investors to go out of the exit in a बोला patience वाली बात बताया था ना मैं अपने webinar में भी. That's what we wanted people to do that. If you are a long-term investor, you don't bother, then exit lot is no event for you. Why? Because you are not anyway going to exit. Then you are not going to pay the exit lot because our exit lot is what, 3% in the first year, 2% in the second year, and 1% in the 3 year. So we don't want customer, Prasad sir, in our PMS. I again repeat, we do not want a customer in our PMS who have less than 3 years time horizon. आप हमें पैसा ही मत दो, मैं तो रिक्वेस्ट करता हूँ, बिकॉज हमको एग्जिट लोड से पैसा नहीं बनाया. एंड अगर आपको 3 साल तक पैसा ही नहीं चाहिए, देन हाउ डज द एग्जिट लोड मैटर? बिकॉज इट विल से नो इवेंट फॉर यू. एम आई राइट? That's why, Prasad sir, this exit load is more of a deterrent, not to make any money out of that. In fact, I'll give you another classic example. I spoke to one customer in a PMS. He said, Sunil bhai, यार market चल रहा है, मेरा portfolio नहीं चल रहा है, I want to get out of it. बोला, please take your money. So he was a little surprised. Like he would have thought that I will ask him to retain. बोलता सर आपको मैंने उसको बोल दिया सर आप इक्विटी के मार्केट के लिए नहीं हो, एंड हैंस यू आर इन द रॉन्ग फील्ड. सिंस यू आर इन द रॉन्ग इन्वेस्टमेंट एवेन्यू, व्हाई शुड आई होल्ड यू बैक? आपका माइंडसेट डेट मार्केट का है, जहाँ पे आपको हर महीने फिक्स इनकम आएगी, तो वो करो. फिर व्हाई डू आई बेसिकली फोर्स यू? साइड से नहीं सर आप पैसा लेके जाओ, बिकॉज आप इक्विटी मार्केट में बने नहीं हो. जो आदमी मुझे बोलता है कि 2 महीने में मेरा थोड़ा अंडर परफॉर्मेंस है, मुझे पैसा निकालना है, प्लीज टेक आउट. So that's what we tell investors कि जब तक 3 साल का नजरिया नहीं है minimum, don't come to the PMS. Don't even make an attempt also. And if you the moment, in fact, I'll tell you, we have asked some people to not to come to the PMS. We have rejected the application because they said their time horizon is only 1.5 years, 2 years. We said we don't want to take your money because क्या फायदा? By not taking your money, because our is a limited size fund, I'm allowing someone else to come into the PMS. Am I right? And that's what we are doing. Sri Hari is asking whether RSI index give accurate prediction of overbought and oversold range of a stock price. Please, sir, I'm not an expert on technicals. My knowledge would be -10 in technicals when it comes to technicals. I have no idea, sir, whether this works or don't work. The best person to answer is those who are technical analysts. Sir, they are the best person. And I don't want to claim that I'm expert in technicals. Pawan sir is asking, I'm constructing a house costing 1.5 crore. What do you suggest to prepayment earlier or do an SIP equaling EMI, and if yes, how much? Now see, Pawan sir, it's all also depend upon your mental temperament, because market will have its ups and downs. Am I right? How strongly you can wither that the downside. Okay, if the market doesn't bother you and बोलता ठीक है यार market नहीं, because sometimes the question will come, इससे अच्छा तो मैंने EMI दे देता अच्छा होता था, am I right? I'll tell you what I will do. Okay, and then you do what your is capable, because everyone has different mental capability. You know, I can afford to see 40% downside in the script I bought it. Okay, and still I will not be worried. 50% to chinta nahi, but some customers get worried by 10-15% also. So it's all depend on mental. But if you have a mental temperament, that's a basic assumption I'm making. I would not suggest you to take prepaid loan. देखो simple logic बताता हूँ मैं आपको. Housing loan is the cheapest loan available in the market. इससे सस्ता कोई लोन मिलता नहीं है. आपका पर्सनल लोन महंगा है, आपका क्रेडिट कार्ड लोन महंगा है, आपका व्हीकल लोन महंगा है, आपका एजुकेशन लोन महंगा है. सबसे सस्ता लोन है तो हाउसिंग लोन. Now, if you look at Indian equity market in last 10 years would have given me about 12 to 13% CAGR returns. कितना? 12 to 13% CAGR returns. Bank, you are giving 8.5, which will further come down once the repo rate comes down. Am I right? And Mohit has explained you how you should negotiate with your banker. In other words, the delta between the paying the EMI and doing the SIP, by doing SIP you can add 4 to 5% to your overall returns. So as long as you have a money and you have discipline in terms of SIP, where the market खराब हो गया, no, let me stop doing SIP, let me prepay, ऐसा नहीं करने वाला हो, then please don't in fact I am of the strong opinion, never ever prepay housing loan, never ever. वो पैसा, and second thing, if you don't want to take it too much risk, because of course sometimes you take a stock selection so and so you may run into a problem, then go for the Nifty 50 index. वहाँ पे you are not ETF basically. ऐसा every month उसमें डालते रहो. And at the end of the 10 years or 15, whatever the tenure of your loan, you would see the difference, the kind of wealth you would have created. First thing, it will create compulsory saving for you, number one. Number two, that wealth that you've created by paying SIP, by constructing, would be huge. Plus your house will also become, a value would have gone up. So you will have two assets which are very rock solid for you. One is the housing asset, another SIP assets, and that's a very nice thing. The moment you prepay the loan, I think you will only have one asset, that is housing loan. Only housing loan, sorry, only house. Krishna is asking, can you please make at least one session per week for the paid members, only with question of specific stocks? So I must tell you, in my Outlook 2024, many people ask me to talk about stocks and so and so. Sir, I am bound by the regulator. I cannot talk stock specific with you people. I am the principal officer with the PMS. I will not be able to forget about the paid members. Even we don't discuss about PMS members also. The stock specific query. I used to do it before we started PMS. I cannot do it, sir. Or ma'am, I don't know, Krishna is a ma'am or sir, but I will not be able to do it. So I please allow me to say no, because I'm bound by the regulator. Brad sir is asking, so Brad sir, before I answer your question, I think you again wrote to us, because there is no churn in your portfolio. Sir, we don't churn the portfolio for the sake of churning. When we churn, sometimes the customers come back to us and say, "Arey, itna churning kyun hai?" And when you don't churn, then people question us that why are you churning? And Brad sir, if you remember, sir, you also asked me, why are we holding certain IT companies in a portfolio? In your case, because you believe that IT sector will not do well. And today, some of the best performing companies in your portfolio are IT companies. Am I right, sir? So now coming back to your question, how much fall in a company's share price is and how much time should be reason to sell? Any yardstick? No, sir. See, sir, 2020 में March 2020 market creep has fallen by 40-50% also. And now if you put that how much, कितना downside होगा बेच देना चाहिए, that should never be the reason. On the contrary, if your story remains very, very strong, you should buy more of the same company because your story is the same. Then you are not catching the falling knife. Why? Because the market sentiment is poor. That's why that creep is available at cheaper level. Please, मेरे तो केस में मैंने देखा है लाइफ में. Whenever, sir, I bought a company, I buy a company, normally it moves down. मैंने देखा है मेरे. तो मैं क्या करता हूँ? I don't buy 100% at one go. Then I basically buy certain portion, then वापस नीचे गया तो वापस और ले लो. हाँ ऊपर चला गया तो फिर छोड़ देने का. फिर देखने का अभी भी worth buying है क्या नहीं देखने का फिर. That's how I basically look at it. So there is no yardstick sir कितना नीचे गया. Your yardstick to get out of the company is not function of how much has fallen or how much has gone up also. Your yardstick to come out of a company is like whether the story continues to remain there or not. The moment the story is not there, you should exit from the company irrespective of whether you are making money or not making money. Simple, period. Jitesh sir is saying, how can I invest in mid and small cap only model portfolio? Have no interest in investing large caps now. I would suggest, sir, if you have 50 lakhs, please come to our PMS strategy. Because Soul is more tilted toward mid and small cap only. About 16-70% large cap. Otherwise, you can select from our Mojo stocks, mid and small cap, and you can create the portfolio. Or you can create more aggressive moderate portfolio, which will still have some large caps, I must tell you. But that is the way you can. I'll give you 3 options: PMS, Mojo stocks, only mid and small cap, or aggressive model portfolio. Samir is saying views on paper sector. One stock for paper industry is up by 5% today. Samir sir, I have said time and again in this webinar, and this paper sector, you people are a little obsessed with that. As I was saying, Brad sir, about IT sector का कैसे चल गया वो, and that's one of the best performing company. That same company was dragging down the portfolio. Now it's lifting the portfolio. Paper stock we believe should do well. We do continue to hold some of the paper stocks which are there in the PMS. We continue to hold them because we believe that valuation risk reward is definitely in the favor of reward, and that's why we continue to hold paper stocks. I don't know which company you are referring to today. I don't want to name that, but we continue to hold those companies in the portfolio. A.V. Rao sir is saying many market experts is generally convey feeling that certain stocks are treasured and are to be held by anyone for very long time for wealth creation. Names of those stocks may be very obvious. Sunilji, what is your take on this opinion, sir? See, there are certain stories which are long-term in nature, and if you think this company can... See, first you need to understand the temperament. हमारा problem क्या है मालूम है? Everyone, and I'll tell you with my own experience, when you ask someone, I am here for long-term, and the moment 1 year वो company नहीं चलता है ना, we start panicking. Am I right? अरे stock नहीं चला है, paper sector is another classical example. अरे paper sector चल ही नहीं रहा है, ये है, वो है, And people get little, this one, despite they claim that they are long-term investors. Now the question is that, which is the treasure stocks? Do you have a patience, number one, to see that company even underperforming for 5 years in a row or 10 years in a row? I'll give you a classic example of that. If you don't mind, can you see my screen? I have taken a company called HDFC. This was just an example. This is not a recommendation to buy or sell. Please remember that. Just focus on the screen, please. If you look at this company, 5 years, HDFC Bank has given only 61.7% return, while the overall market gave 101% return. If you look at 4 years, 33% versus 73%. 3 years, 21% versus 53%. 2 years, 17% 25%. 1 year, While the market did very well, only 4% versus 18.2. And year to date, that's 2023, 4.64 versus 18.4. Now it's a good stock. If you go back 5 years back, and if I would have asked you, okay, was HDFC Bank nahi chalega, which I did say, you would not have believed, because that's a treasure stock. Now, HDFC Bank chalega. I don't know whether 5 years down the line, 10 years down the line, chalega. Would you have that patience to hold on? Somewhere at the bottom of the market, bottom of the company cycle, you'll get out of that. And then you'll repent that, maine kar diya, bech diya. The first thing we need to first understand that we need to create the temperament. Yes, I'm willing to withhold that company even for a longer period of time because it can outperform for me. And sometimes the company may outperform, sometimes the company may not outperform at all. It may not happen with a company like HDFC Bank, but it can happen with some other company which was in limelight and suddenly it loses its relevance. And like classical example, Unitech. Once upon a time, Unitech was the darling of the investors. Those who are in the market for 2 decades and more, they would recollect that. Company struggling to now even come back to the even 10% of what it was commanding once upon a time. Forget about 100%, 10% ka. Some of the company like JP Group, they are nowhere in the picture and so on and so forth. So we need to understand because तेजी में सब कुछ अच्छा दिखता है. And we sometimes we are so much overwhelmed by the recency bias कि हम लोग लगता है ये तो कंपनी खराब कुछ कर ही नहीं सकता. And then suddenly the script starts underperforming and then we perform very badly. There's another company, if I can see about that. Let me see if I can show you that also. It will give up. Let me see whether that holds true or not. So just 1 second. Yeah, Bajaj Finance. I was just so if you look at this Bajaj Finance, it was one of the most sought after company once upon a time. When you look at 2023, it's only by 10% versus the Sensex up by 18%. 1 year, it's almost 1 year and 2 is the same because we are very 2 years, it's up by only 5%. Its FD would have given you more returns as compared to Bajaj Finance says versus 25% market. 3 years, 39%. 4 years, 70%. Again, underperform very significantly. Now, point is that will you have that patience to hold that company or not? So, I have a simple opinion. The moment you think the story is over, please get out. Irrespective of what the management is in this one. If market will give an opportunity at that point of time, you think this makes a lot of sense, please re-enter that company at that point of time. But you should have a strong conviction when you bought. You should have a strong conviction when you exit. And you should again have a strong conviction when you want to re-enter. कोई बोलता नहीं है कि जो कंपनी से आप निकल गए वापस उसको ले नहीं सकते हो. I again repeat, there is no law that basically restrict you or bar you not buying the same company which you sold couple of years back. कोई फर्क नहीं. That's why you should do that. And I can give you another example if I can say that. See, I'm taking example which you people can relate to it. So that, आप लोग को पता चले कि वो yes, can you show that? I've taken Avenue Supermart. That's a company which runs 2021 negative returns, 1 year negative returns, 2 year negative returns, 3 year 50 versus 53 for this one. अभी वो कितना होगा, क्या होगा? It's a great company, but you got in the wrong time, then you will pay the heavy price on that. Yeah. Kasinath sir is saying, I need to know about Mojo PMS such as fact sheet or literature brief for theme. It will follow strategy, focus, risk pattern, backward data, etc. Kasinath sir, Amir, please share that email ID to me. Sir, we'll send across the literature. In fact, we'll ask someone to help you also. My relationship manager will call you and explain in great detail, sir, Kasinath sir. In fact, those who wish to know more about PMS, please write to us and we'll be more than happy to answer all your queries. Kirti sir is asking, do we have to book profit after 10% allocation due to profit? The allocation goes much beyond 10%. At what level profit became reckless? So, Kirti ji, I'm not a big fan of that. You start with 10%, and if by virtue of that price appreciation of the scrip is going much higher, please continue to enjoy the ride. Because remember Peter Lynch statement which I used to always say, do not cut the flowers, do not water the weed. Flower is nothing but your script which is doing very well, and weed is something which will drag down your portfolio. So don't do that. As long as it goes to 30-35%, I will still not do it. Then what you should do in case if that happens, please take out your capital, whatever you invested, plus whatever the rate of interest that you want to apply so that you are in the profit. For example, just to give an example so that it doesn't become a little complicated. Suppose I invested in one company at 100 rupees and I hold that company for 2 years and assume that I wanted 10% return on that minimum. तो मेरा क्या 110 फर्स्ट ईयर में हुआ और उसका 10% 11 हुआ. 110 का 10% 11 रुपया हुआ. दैट मीन्स 121 रुपया मेरा इन्वेस्टमेंट हो गया. सपोज द स्क्रिप हैज गॉन अप बाय 500 rupees. 100 का 500 rupees. I'm just giving an example because of that your portfolio is increased to 30-35%. What I will do, I'll take out that 121 rupees from that portfolio. So my capital is now investment in that company is zero after adjusting for my cost of borrowing also, cost of interest also. Am I right? And that becomes, then I will not trim that company further. Irrespective of what happens to that. Because remember, in fact, Warren Buffett has said, and he said, I consider myself lucky if I get one multi-bagger in a period of 5 or 6 years, he said, if my memory serves me right. You don't need multi-baggers in dozens. फिर वो मल्टीबैगर को छोड़ो मत जल्दी, बिकॉज क्या होगा, वही तो आपको पावर ऑफ कंपाउंडिंग देने वाला है. राकेश झुंझुनवाला, मोस्ट ऑफ हिज वेल्थ केम फ्रॉम टाइटन. एम आई राइट? लुपिन में इतना पैसा नहीं बना, डेल्टा कॉप में इतना पैसा नहीं बना उसका, पर like Delta Corp is another example. Let me show you Delta Corp also. Just once was the darling of the investors, and look at what happened to Delta Corp. If I can show you that this one, and can you see this company? Once this was a darling of the investors. 5 साल में negative 40% return, 10 साल में सिर्फ 40% versus 234. Just someone asked me ना कभी तक this one, you will lose patience here. हाँ, coming back to this, so you need multi-bagger. You need 1 or 2 multi-bagger. Then उसको जल्दी मत करो बेचने की. Because that's going to change the color of your portfolio significantly. In Warren Buffett, if you look at Berkshire Hathaway, Apple is the one which has been a very sweet spot for creating a lot of wealth for the Berkshire Hathaway, am I right? So वैसे होता है, तो आपको साल में एक भी multi-bagger बन गया तो फिर जल्दी मत करो उसको book. Let it allow to go. Let it go to 30-35% of your portfolio. Then you can just take out the capital plus whatever the rate of interest you want to apply every year, वो निकाल दो, so आपका पोर्टफोलियो का जो आया है वो डिस्टर्ब ना हो, and let it then continue as a part of your portfolio. Sarang sir is saying, how many stocks one should have in portfolio when following multiple strategies? Sir, human brain will not be able to track the moment it goes to 25-30 companies. If you ask me, 20 companies is maximum. And दूसरा क्या है सर, आप मल्टीपल स्ट्रेटेजी करोगे ना तो कोई स्ट्रेटेजी चलेगी, कोई स्ट्रेटेजी नहीं चलेगी. ओवरऑल यू विल नॉट बी एबल टू क्रिएट अल्फा. एम आई राइट? एंड तो फिर फायदा क्या उसका मल्टीपल स्ट्रेटेजी करके लिए. बट मैक्सिमम 30 तक जाओ, मैक्सिमम आई एम सेइंग. इफ यू हैव द बैंडविड्थ, आपके पास दूसरा कुछ काम नहीं है, खाली स्टॉक मार्केट फॉलो करना है, मैक्सिमम 30. उसके बियॉन्ड तो जाना बेवकूफ़ी है. And someone has said, Warren Buffett only, I think they said, over-diversification is a sign of ignorance. जब आपको खुद को पता नहीं कि कंपनी क्या करनी है, that's why you diversifying so much कि उसका, see, even if you have 30 companies in your portfolio, that means on an average you will have 3% or 3.5% in each company. Now कोई कंपनी चलेगा, कोई कंपनी नहीं चलेगा, ओवरऑल वहाँ पे वहाँ ही रहेगा, तो कोई फायदा. But why do you want to follow multiple strategies? You have a strong reason why you should do that, am I right? So please ask yourself, why do you want to run that multiple strategy? If आपको कुछ sample करना है तो do a very smaller sum of money. Then don't put a big money on that. And first उसको देखो कैसे होता है, and also see the strategy, because see, remember, not all strategy will run on one side. So there are certain strategy will work in certain phase of the market, certain strategy will work on certain phase of the market, certain strategy will work on certain phase of the market. You must first understand कौन से stage में हम लोग ये phase में market है, and there you should increase or decrease your allocation to that strategy to create that wealth. उतना ईजी नहीं जितना मैं बोल रहा हूँ आपको. आई मस्ट टेल यू दैट ऑल्सो. Monojit is saying a valid question as an investor. Sir, of course, all questions come from all of investors valid, sir. So you don't have to put a statement there. Why should an investor invest in the corpus to you instead of choosing some strong small cases that should provide a strong CAGR? Perfect, sir. We are not saying you should invest only through us. If you think that small case has given good returns historically and it can continue to give you strong results going forward also, please go ahead. We are not saying no. If you think some has a better strategy, please give your money to them, because ultimately your objective is to enhance the wealth. Am I right? So if you think someone else will do it, please give to them. We have no objection, sir. As I told you, we can only absorb 1,500 crore in power. We can absorb only 1,000 crore in soul. If you think some small case will give you better return because done so well, and if you are making an assumption that it will continue to do well, please go ahead. We will showcase our report card 3 years down the line and we'll see where do we stand, where some other people stand. We don't believe in... I'll give you an example. Today what has happened. Those who are little associated with the MarketsMojo for 5 years and more, in 2018, and this the reason I came to know, because even I forgot about it, I don't check it. So 2018 during Diwali time, I had given one portfolio of worth 10 lakhs rupees. And that was portfolio, nothing was a function of Mojo stock or something. I created on my own. I picked up the company and I created. And those who are from 2018, they would remember what I am saying. And today we are discussing something with our leadership team and I realized, let me see what happens to that portfolio performance. Not a single churn that happened in that portfolio. In 5 years period, that portfolio has outperformed significantly to the benchmark, creating a CAGR of 23%. But the beauty is that the same portfolio was underperforming in the first year. In fact, it gave negative returns in the first year. Are you getting my point? So, sometimes we make an assumption कि जो चला है वो भी आके चके चलने वाला है और जो नहीं चला है वो नहीं चलने वाला है. I think it would be a wrong assumption. So, but anyways, Monojit sir, you are right. If you think the small case will give you high returns, please give that money to the fund manager. Zambia is asking, so I come on TV channel, I go to CNBC Bazar every alternate Wednesday. So today I was there in the morning. BTTV is nothing fixed, it's on and off that happens. There are no fixed schedule for that. So these are the two channels. I used to go on CNBC Awaz and Z, which I've stopped actually. Priya is saying PA's portfolio is not performing well. What's your take? So I must tell you that I don't know. Maybe your portfolio may not be doing well. It's a too short a period we are talking about. And I said, I give an example of 2018 Diwali portfolio. It did not do well in 2019. In fact, last Diwali, that from Diwali of 2018 to Diwali 2009, it was negative. And the same portfolio today is created with CAGR, including the period of underperformance with 23% return. So short-term performance or outperformance has no meaning at all. That's why I said those who want to come to the PMS, if you keep looking at your portfolio on a daily basis, you are basically creating some amount of a indiscipline in yourself. You will run out of patience, you will get greedy, you will get fearful, and you will do something which you are not supposed to do well. In fact, someone asked me a question and I said, Sunil, if I remain invested in PMS for next 20 years, can my portfolio be 100 crore? And I said, very, very high probability. Of course, they're all probability. Am I right? Because people don't understand the power of compounding. What happens, and there's one video available of Ramdev Agarwal. I think you should listen to it. I think this was done by Anuj Singhal or something. Interview was done by Anuj Singhal. And where Ramdev ji explained, how does the power of compounding work? The value of X after 10 years becomes so much. And the same compounding after 20 years, what it becomes. and 30 and so on and so forth. I think that's what we must all understand, the power of compounding. The Priyaji, I think the power of compounding, you should allow performance to happen, and once that happens, you will see the performance. Had it been doing good also, should you get excited? I keep saying in my webinar in PMs also, should you get excited when the performance is good in the short term? Answer is no. Should you get dejected if the person is not good in the short term? The answer is again no. Because ultimately, if you want to create a long-term wealth in the market, am I right? We are not here for short term. अगर मैं समझ आपका परफॉर्मेंस अच्छा है, what would you do? आपका it's like because ultimately you want to remain invested in the equity market for 3 years minimum, right? It's like you bought a house, the price goes down, क्या बेच दोगे क्या उसको? और if price goes up, क्या उसको आप बेच दोगे क्या? So why can't we think in that fashion? Somewhere we need to cultivate our mindset about the equity instead of becoming a trader or becoming a short-term investor. We need to basically allow that power of compounding. ये power of compounding इतनी बार बड़े expert बोल चुके हैं, but somewhere still people are not able to appreciate this. And I would request everyone to please listen to that Ramdev Agarwal interview, which was done by Anuj Singhal. Brilliant reply given by Ramdev ji on the power of compounding. And if I get a chance, if you don't get it, please tell me. I can share the link also because I need to search for that. It should be available on the YouTube. I can tell you with a lot of confidence. Sam Sundar sir is saying, what are the key differences between the stock selection between moderate portfolio and PMS portfolio? I am aware of stock, sectoral market limit, or one is advised to other two. So the stock, see, in model portfolio, we have predefined how much exposure we will take to one particular sector, to one particular market cap. In our soul, there are no sectoral limit, except in power, we will invest only up to 20% in small cap, but there is no sectoral limit. So that's a big difference, number one. Number two, in model portfolio, the definition of the fixed criteria is there, how much will invest in market cap, large, mid and small cap, depending on the risk appetite. In soul and power, it's a function of what our IP says. If our IP says the small cap will do well, we'll put more money in small cap. If our IP says mid cap will do well, we'll put more money in mid cap. If our IP says large cap will do well, we'll put more money in the large cap. And there are no sub-limits in our PMS portfolio, but there are limits within the model portfolio. Second thing, our IP is completely different in the PMS as compared to the model portfolio. So what sometimes you might see, and our customers will have experience also, is sometimes we make an exit from a PMS, a one company which may be a buy on the MarketsMojo website, and vice versa also. So that can happen. Why? Because both have a different IP altogether. Vinit is saying, don't you think that in MP you should start booking profits as you see downfall in Jan and March 2024? The first thing, we are making all assumptions that there will be a downfall in Jan and March 2024. That's a hypothetical question, am I right? And you should start model portfolio, that's what we are saying, start booking profit. So we'll generate advice based on our IP, sir. So we don't know whether that's a valid statement to say that Jan to March market will decline. Vinitji, that's an assumption. But we normally don't have a view on the market. We only have a view on the company that we hold in the portfolio. Can we have last two questions if you don't mind? Amir? Yeah. Vishal is saying, what should be the logic for profit or loss booking for conviction script? Thank you. Sir, if you are convinced about, then there should not be profit or loss booking. Unless that you go up to 30% of the total portfolio value, that's by virtue of this one. As I said, the story, if it's intake, no need to get out of that company. If the story changes, irrespective of whether you are making profit or loss, you should get out. Keep see, हम लोग के ना mind में बहुत complication create करते हैं, and that sometimes the complicated might create a wrong decision. If you keep your funda simple, it always pays in the long run. I've seen that. जितना आपका why the iPhone is so successful? कोई भी आदमी iPhone को आप करोगे ना, कोई भी आदमी वो बूढ़ा हो या जवान हो उसको यूज कर सकता है. वो they kept it very simple. And that's why it's one of the most valuable brand in my mobile phone. Same way, your investment strategy should be simple. Please adhere to it. Sometimes the strategy may not work also in certain markets. That's fine. But you are here for long term, right? And as long as you follow that in a consistent manner, you should be fine. So you need to decide कि बस मुझे simple लगता है policy. Why I'm getting into the company? The conviction should be strong. Same strong conviction should be there for reason you to exit. जिस दिन आपने वो because में इतना पैसा बनाओ, that's why I should exit. That's a wrong decision. फिर क्या होगा? आपका कभी बड़ा पैसा उसमें कंपनी से कभी नहीं बनेगा आपका wealth creation कभी नहीं होगा. So last question, I understand. Otherwise, again, I'll hold you back from your dinner. What is your Mojo team's view on selecting sector where government has control on pricing of the product, like oil, sugar, cement, etc.? So Vasudevan sir, I don't know whether government has a control on cement. I don't think I think it's a market dynamic. So I don't know whether they can control pricing on the cement. Sugar and oil, I do agree with you. Within the sugar also, ethanol pricing are different, decided by the government. So there is this one. That does it mean that you should not invest in those companies? The answer is no. Some of the oil companies have given a very good return. So is the case of some of the sugar companies also. Again, we need to understand what is the stand of the government. Whether government want to, despite their controlling the price, is the government stand for the sector is positive or not? And sugar is a classical example. See, if you go back 5 years back and if you ask someone to buy sugar companies, they will say, "Pagal aadmi hai kya?" But this government focus is to revive sugar. They've given interest subvention scheme. They've basically said that we are going to increase the ethanol blending program. They not only increase the percentage of blending, they also keep on increasing the price of the ethanol and so on and so forth. That means despite the control the price of sugar, but the policy initiatives for the sector is very, very positive. Something very similar for the oil. So I think you need to look at it in a holistic manner and not look at in one aspect of that industry and say, ये company industry खराब है कि अच्छी है. So I know you will have more questions and I must promise you that we are going to have a very interesting discussion next week on our Equity Outlook 2024. Some of the questions I did pick up today, which I believed may not be fit into my Equity Outlook 2024 presentation. With this, thanks a lot everyone. I know it's a festive time. It's a celebration time. A lot of you people must be also in a year-end party mood. Please go and enjoy. Tomorrow I'm in front with our PMS customers. And Friday, that's the last webinar of 2023. I have some interesting insights. So my request would be, please come and join because I know you will have a party mood on Saturday, Sunday, so I'll not bother you. Please come on Friday, and tomorrow I'll request all my PMS customers to come and attend that. With this, have a great time.